Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Goodly folks, Country Cold Store launches its Jingle and Win Christmas promotion. When you spend $150 or more and $250 or more at either their mini-mart at Piedmont or their wholesale division respectively, you stand more than a chance to be included to win a shopping spree from $500 to $1,000 up to $1,500. A greater opportunity exists nowhere else. For more information, contact Country Cold Store 440-3335. Remember, this Country Cold Store Jingle and Win Christmas promotion runs from 5th to 20th December 2025.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks. Yes. So welcome. It's really a plum-pleasing pleasure to be with you once more. And of course, God willing, there will be a lot more of this to come. Welcome to our 296th edition of Edification on this, of course, the first Sunday of December, the Christmas month. You know, a lot of us, we live for Christmas. We love Christmas. And I'm one of those Christmas junkies, folks. Our topic today is very, very interesting. You can never help somebody who is committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. We have such people all around us, folks, in friendships, at work, among our colleagues, in political gatherings, among fanatical supporters, and even sharing our DNA as family and relatives. As soon as you get into the room today, folks, you know what to do. Share, comment, like, love, react, and interact as you normally do. For those of you on YouTube, do the same. Hit the subscribe button so that you can get your notification readily. Just a short reminder, I have 2 pages on Facebook, with one of them easy to follow, so you can be notified when lives are on. So let's get started today, folks. You can never help somebody who is committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. Ode to the stories we keep. The topic that guides us today in this particular edition will be subdivided into sections. The first of which will take on an in-depth look at the prison of perfect dysfunction. The prison of perfect dysfunction. Get comfortable. Maybe even take a deep breath before we start, because today we're taking a dive, a serious dive, and talking about one of the most frustrating, heartbreaking, and even, if we're honest enough, one of the most common things that we do as human beings. We're going to talk about the people we cannot save, not because they're too far gone, but because they're too deeply invested in a story that keeps them stuck. Some of us who are fortunate to escape this prison must thank our lucky stars for having escaped. The quote that has been rattling around in my brain sets the stage for our overall delivery here today, folks. You can never help somebody who's committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. So let that sink in. It's not that they're committed to the dysfunction itself. Oh, no, not necessarily at all. They're committed to the story that makes sense of it. The story that explains it, justifies it, and in a twisted way, protects them from the terrifying prospect of something new and more desirable, I dare say. We all do this to some degree. Let me paint you a picture and see if you recognize anyone in this picture. You see, this is the person who is always the victim in every workplace or even regular friendship drama. Every boss is a tyrant. Every colleague is out to get them. Every friend must pander to them. The story is, the world is unfair to me. And that story suits the dysfunction of never having to take responsibility, never having to self-reflect. They secretly throw all their undoing on others so that onlookers can help them hate who they blame, while they do nothing to improve their lot. Their failings are to be projected on others to justify them doing nothing. How many people you know like that, folks? I'm sure you know plenty. This is the person who is chronically broke, but their story is, the system is rigged, money is evil, rich people are thieves, adulthood is overrated. You see, that story suits the dysfunction of financial avoidance and, of course, a lack of budgeting discipline. Look at how many people are blaming Greenlick totally for their vicarious consumption of electricity in these challenging times here so now. We have absolutely no control on the component parts of the charges for electricity, in that the fuel prices fluctuate like crazy because of geopolitical tensions. And of course, the normal rate of our kilowatt usage has its price set in stone. It's a fixed price. It is quite obvious that we must manage our consumption in order to keep the monthly usage within our budget, within what we can afford, especially in these uncertain times for a troubled world. Remaining conscious throughout each aspect of our lives is more necessary now than ever, if we truly have an interest in not participating in the crisis. While we're at it, we have to check on our priorities. Rent or mortgage, food, water, electricity ought to be top of the list of our priorities. Everything else is added thereafter. How many people around and about us have that particular order right? Yet, the complaints are fast and furious, even if many of those same people can be seen in every VIP fete, posing with their Hennessy white and wine glasses with pinky fingers out, making as if, you see, keeping up appearances is most important to them, but it has a cost. You see, this is the person who can't keep a relationship. And their story is all men are narcissists. All women are gold diggers. That story suits the dysfunction of avoiding intimacy and never looking at their own patterns. And here's the kicker. You see, the part where this gets really uncomfortable, our audience, you and me, we are often the co-stars in these stories. We're the loyal friend, the exhausted family member, the perpetually concerned partner, the colleague, blind follower or supporter. We are the ones serving as audience for this never-ending play. You see why many of you are stressed? Because you encourage nonsense in the name of not upsetting your friend, your child, your sister, your brother, your cousin, etc. Folks, I want to paint a picture with this scenario about let's call this person a friend. And let's call him Alex. Alex was brilliant, creative, and perpetually on the verge of his big break. But the break never came, and his story was airtight. It was about the industry being shallow, gatekeepers not recognizing genius, bad luck, and toxic mentors. I'm sure many of you know somebody like this Alex in your life. For years, you may have been his cheerleader. Those idiots don't see your talent, boy. You'd say to him, you'd buy him drinks, listen to him for hours. As far as you were concerned, you were supporting your friend, but you were also unwittingly feeding a monster. You have been validating that story. One day, after a particularly familiar rant, you gently said, okay, but what if for 1 month, Alex, you just made the thing for yourself and didn't blame anyone for what happened to it? The silence would become icy, I'm very sure. He would shut down. He wouldn't even speak to you for weeks, probably months. You had stopped playing your part to enable him in his nonsense. So you see, you had in his eyes become another gatekeeper. Your attempt to help was a threat to the entire ecosystem of his struggle. His identity was built on being the misunderstood artist. Without that story, who was he? He'd have to just be an artist. And that was terrifying. So what do? If we care about someone, folks, do we just give up? I say not. Not exactly at all. But we have to shift our strategy from content editing to category shifting. Right now, they're reading a tragedy or an epic tale of persecution. You're trying to correct facts within that genre. Well, maybe your boss wasn't trying to humiliate you on Tuesday, Alex. That doesn't work. You have to suggest subtly that maybe this isn't a tragedy. Maybe it's a story of redemption, or a comedy, or even a hero's journey. The question is not, how can I prove your story wrong? The question is instead, is this story serving you, Alex? Or is it holding you hostage, Alex? So here are a couple of steps that I suggest you can take the next time that you encounter this with anyone, whether it is someone sharing your DNA or just a friend, a colleague at work. Validate the emotion, not the story. Instead of, you're right, your ex is a monster. Try this instead. That sounds incredibly painful. It must be so hard to feel betrayed like that. You know what you're doing? You're acknowledging their pain without co-signing the imprisoning story. But the next thing you could probably do is ask curiosity-based, future-oriented questions. These are gentle nudges towards a new genre. Imagine for a second, Alex, that this curse you feel wasn't there. What's the first tiny thing you might try? Next question could be, if this chapter of everyone is against me ended, Alex, what would the next chapter be called? But the next area is withdraw your audition for a supporting role. This is the hard part. Stop playing the rescuer, the validator, the pawn in their story. You say, I love you too much to keep agreeing that you're powerless. Or, I see you as a capable person. That is hard for me to keep listening to the story where you have no options, when you have so many. Then you change the subject. You talk about the movie you saw, the idea you had, the funny thing your dog did this morning. You show them a conversation that exists outside their dysfunctional story. You see, the brutal truth we have to accept is this. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop enabling these pitiful people, these people who are convinced that they must reside in their dysfunction. Stop pouring your energy into a system designed to leak it all out. Your withdrawal from their script is the first real consequence their story has ever faced. It might be the only thing that creates a crack in the narrative, in the story. A moment of doubt where they think, my most loyal audience member just walked out. Maybe this play isn't as compelling as I thought. You see, they start to think. And for us, the helpers, the fixers, the empaths, we have to ask ourselves our own soul-searching question. What story am I committed to? Is it the story of, I'm the only one who can save them? The story of, my worth comes from being needed? Is that story suited to my dysfunction? Letting go isn't abandonment, folks. It's an act of fierce respect. It's tough love. It's actually saying, I believe you are the author of your life. Even if you're writing a tragedy right now, I will be in the front row with popcorn when you decide to switch genres. Because you see, the moment they trade in that old suited story for one that is a little too big, a little too uncertain, but brimming with agency, that's the moment they can finally be helped. And more importantly, that's the moment they start to save themselves. Stop helping people who are committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction to organize and throw this pity party that is not good for them and one which sucks you in, hook, line, and sinker. It's not good for you either. I think it's time for me to just tell you thanks for listening to this segment. Now go out and be brave and start questioning the stories we are all clinging to. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, or maybe with someone who's been trying to hear it. But people don't tell people what they need to hear. People tell them what they want to hear. So you can never help somebody who's committed to the story that is suited to their own dysfunction. Let's take a little break here and we'll come right back with some more. And God knows today we have a lot, and it's good weather to just sit down and listen.
To stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered, stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Goodly folks, Country Cold Store launches its Jingle and Win Christmas promotion. When you spend $150 or more and $250 or more at either their mini mart at Piedmont or their wholesale division respectively, you stand more than a chance to be included to win a shopping spree from $500 to $1,000 up to $1,500. A greater opportunity exists nowhere else. For more information, contact Country Cold Store 440-3335. Remember, this Country Cold Store Jingle and Win Christmas promotion runs from 5th to 20th December 2025.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. Of course, we have quite a bit of ground to cover, so let's get on with it. For those of you just joining, I'd like to say welcome, and thank you very much for joining us.
Frederick.
It's really a plum-pleasing pleasure to have you with us on this rainy Sunday on the Spice Island. But we're here and we're doing what we have to do. If any of you see anybody missing on the live, you know what to do. Tag them and wake them up, because they wouldn't forgive you for missing today's program. Welcome back. Folks, can you imagine we actually have people in our political life here in Grenada and the region who are just like this, committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction? Oh, Gid. People who can never help. We have them as both candidates and supporters, continuing to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. What madness. You see, this second segment is going to be delivered in context of the Island Edition. When our politics become a story we can't escape. So all for now, welcome back. You see, last time we talked about the powerful idea you can never help somebody, just globally, who is committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. I am sure that after this entire program today, my direct messages will be full. In fact, after sharing it with a friend ahead of publication, as my intention to deliver today, this return message, after it must have resonated, stuck with me. Quote, Listening, I kept thinking, this isn't just about my brother or my co-worker. Look around. We have walking, talking examples of this in our politics, in our parliament, on the radio shows, all over the region. People stuck in stories that keep them all stuck, unquote. And that friend is right, don't you think? So today, let me get local. Let's get regional. Let's be brave and turn that mirror on the public's life. You see, because if dysfunction loves a good story, listen to this carefully. If dysfunction loves a good story, then politics might just be its favorite stage. We know the characters. We can hear their voices. In fact, the way they are treated when they reach opposition is a most suitable karma for their transgressions while they were high and lofty. They were never focusing on the life after success in politics, and therefore made no arrangements for when the tables turned. They were so bent on delivering with vitriol and with the strength of their low character that they never thought it wise to put things in place for if and when the tables turned on them. Look at neighboring St. Vincent. We had it here ourselves. Look at them today. We don't have to go to neighboring St. Vincent to ponder that truth. Oh, no. All we have to do is to open our eyes and look around right here in Grenada, and you would see for yourselves how status-starved such people have become, behaving to prove how unworthy they really were of such high offices in the first place. We have another set right now as we speak. And you know what? Preparing to keep that tradition of retribution alive. Why would I, who had nothing, qualified as I may have been, having remained in the wilderness for so long before finally making it to be successful in politics, become so consumed by the office and the salary and the perks and lose focus and not realize that if I fail this time around, is right back in the dark of the sun for my life? I say no more. But who have eyes to see will see, and ears to hear, they will also hear. You see, there's the hero of yesterday. His entire story is etched in the past. I am the one who freed us, who built this, who saved us then. The project is mine and ours. The money we left in the treasury that paid this, that, and the other. The dysfunction, an inability to imagine or enact a vision for tomorrow. The story of past glory suits the present inability to adapt, to listen, to step aside and give way, especially as the past is dead, according to the Arabs, Elifat Mat. In their mind or minds, it keeps him or them central. It keeps him or them relevant. It keeps the nation's gaze fixed on the rearview mirror. But folks, look at the size of the rearview mirror in comparison with the size of the windscreen's forward view. The forward view is always most important. That's why the windscreen is that wide. Then there's the eternal victim opposition. The story is perpetual persecution. The system is rigged. The other side is evil. Every failure is their fault. Every win is stolen. The story suits the dysfunction of never having to present a viable, coherent alternative. They don't have to do the hard work of governing because their role in the story is pure, unsullied critique. They enlist questionable characters whose very modus operandi in their personal lives leave much to be desired and even more questions than answers. These same characters who have nothing and are nothing embark on a campaign to smear others as if to give life to the saying, misery loves company. And we can't forget the tribal chief. The story is, only we can protect our people from them. It's a story of division passed down like an heirloom. It suits the dysfunction of patronage, of never having to build policies that truly benefit everyone, because unity would break the spell. Their power depends on the chapters of us versus them, being read generation after generation, as we have seen here in Grenada from 1995 to 2022 for the most part, and continuing. And here's where we, the people, become the co-authors. We play our parts. Many of us are the loyalists, cheering from our side and cheering for our side, like it's a football match, ignoring fouls our own team commits. We are the cynics who've bought the story that all that them is thief. So some of us disengage, some of us don't vote, some of us don't hold anyone accountable, which is exactly what the dysfunction needs to thrive. We are the nostalgics, wishing for a past that never really existed the way we remember it, giving power to those who sell us that fairy tale. You see, we validate these political stories every time we share that angry post without fact-checking. Every time we vote for a symbol instead of a policy. Every time we say, well, he might be corrupt, but he's our corrupt. He might be a thief, but he is short and his pocket's close to the ground. So when it overspills, we will get what falls to the ground. Well, he might be taking bribes, but when I go to him and beg, he does give me something though. This list of these pathetic comments go on to no end. In fact, these comments come from many people who are very religious and pose as Christians in our society to justify and thus normalize dysfunction. So what's the way out? How do we as citizens stop being the captive audience and become the editors of a new narrative, a new story? We have to change the questions we ask. Not just at the polls, but at the community meetings, at the dinner table, and even within our WhatsApp groups. Challenge the genre, folks. When a leader speaks only of past heroism, ask, what is your vision for the next 5 years? Not the last 30 when you were thieving down the place. When an opponent only criticizes, ask, what is your specific costed alternative to the policy you are condemning today? You're shifting the genre from nostalgic epic or tragic victimhood to a practical blueprint. When you make these demands, you force them into a new level. It is either they fail or they rise to the occasion. Refuse your casting call, folks. They want to cast you as a loyal foot soldier in their tribal war. Don't accept the role. Say with your voice and your vote, my allegiance is to Grenada. My allegiance is to the Caribbean, not to an inferior party, which many are, or a defective personality, which most of you are stuck at. I will hold everyone to the same standard. This is how we withdraw participation from a broken script delivered by misfits and miscreants, I dare say. You see, demand a new plot twist. Demand it. You see, the oldest, most tired story in our region is dependency. The plot is always about what we can't do, what we need from ourselves. We must demand leaders and become citizens who author a story of agency, innovation, and regional collaboration. The question is, what story of Grenada, of the Caribbean, are we writing for our grandchildren? Is it just a return of our old quarrels? You see, the hard truth is this. A leader committed to a dysfunctional story will run a country or a ministry just like my friend Alex mentioned earlier in our first segment, ran his life, perpetually on the verge of a big break that never comes, always blaming someone else for the delay. Our job as citizens isn't just to elect, it is to curate, to consciously, persistently champion a new narrative, a new story. One that doesn't suit dysfunction, but suits development. One that doesn't suit victimhood, but suits vision. It starts by looking in the mirror and asking, what political story have I personally been committed to that is no longer serving my country? Let's change the story, family. Not just for ourselves, but for every spice-filled hill, every sun-kissed coast, every bright young mind watching to see what plot we choose next. This is a conversation we need to have here at home and, of course, in the wider region. If this sparked something in you, share it, not just with a friend, but with that uncle in the group chat, with a colleague at the office. Let's start rewriting together now. You can never help somebody who's committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. We take a quick break here, folks, and we come right back with a lot more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Goodly folks, Country Cold Store launches its Jingle and Win Christmas promotion. When you spend $150 or more and $250 or more at either their mini-mart at Piedmont or their wholesale division respectively, you stand more than a chance to be included to win a shopping spree from $500 to $1,000 up to $1,500. A greater opportunity exists nowhere else. For more information, contact Country Cold Store 440-3335. Remember, This Country Cold Store Jingle and Win Christmas promotion runs from 5th to 20th December 2025.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. And welcome back. Welcome back. For those of you just joining because you're late, of course, you have to sit at a very uncomfortable vantage point today at the back of the class. But that's quite okay. It's better to be late than dead on time, and we love to have you. So thanks for making it. We understand too the rain may have kept you back from coming on time. Folks, the anatomy of this unshakable lie. You know, we have so much going on in our country today. And it begs the question, how can one see the truth, know it for being the truth, and still believe lies while they avidly follow those who deliberately tell lies to gain an advantage? I cannot understand that. That is dysfunction on steroids. Why do we cling to untruth? You see this segment? It will be held in honor of the truth we know, the lie we choose. Today we enter the most mysterious, painful, and I dare say paradoxically human territory of all. We've talked about dysfunctional stories. We've talked about political narratives and stories. But now we must confront the haunting question that so many of us whisper to ourselves late at night. How can someone see the truth, know its truth, and still choose the lie? How can we sit back, witness the consistency of an inherently dishonest individual telling lies upon lies and still believe them when they persist in seeking attention and relevance with yet another lie and line up to fall for the lie? We ought to have learned by now that with such person, you have to wait to make sure what they say comes true before you line up to be made an ass of, congratulating them and wishing them well. How many times have that lie been told? How can we watch a leader here in Grenada or anywhere speak something we know to be false, whether it is about history, about economics, about what happened just last week, and not just accept it, but defend it, follow it with passion, build our identity around it? Boy, no wonder so many of us show up ourselves as totally inferior and dysfunctional. This isn't about being misled. This is about something far more profound. It is about choosing the cathedral of belonging over the lonely bench of truth. I told you many times, when you see a picture illustrating a march to heaven or hell, we cannot help but notice the queue to hell. Oh, Jesus, it's always crowded. While the procession to heaven is sparse. You see, choosing to be alone has its value. It means boundaries are maintained against stupidness that most people like to revel in. We have to stop mixing up aloneness with loneliness. People who choose to be alone made a conscious choice, a conscious decision to protect themselves from the noise of the rabble, and their solitude brings them the peace they guard jealously with their consciousness. What do I always say? You cannot be lonely if you thoroughly enjoy the company of the person you're alone with. Oh, yes. So when you reach to the point of not having people, but instead people having you, you have reached a dangerously high level of freedom indeed. Let's peel this back layer by layer. And I say layer by painful layer. You see, the truth is a place. The lie is a tribe. You can know a geographical truth. This road leads to a cliff. That's cognitive. But if everyone you love, everyone who gives you meaning is walking that road together, singing songs of solidarity, the truth becomes cold. The cliff becomes abstract. The warmth of the tribe becomes your immediate reality. Be careful, as friends bring you go, but they never bring you back. You see, the psychological term is identity protective cognition. Our brains are not designed to be perfect truth-seeking machines. They're designed instead to protect our relationships, our social standing, our sense of who we are. You see that need to fit in? Oh, man. So when faced with a choice between fact and family, chosen or biological, that is, our loyalty always wins. I tell people the same thing, reiterated to me by a younger close friend and buddy who recently said, do not include me or get me to agree to be in any group, committee, organization, or caucus if you are not willing to hear the truth. No compromise. But this is a much younger person, half my age, could be thinking so profoundly. And that is precisely why you will never hear of me being in any of those, because conflict awaits. As everyone, for the most part, seem bent on hearing and receiving what they want to hear and what they want to receive. I'm not wired that way. I see what needs to be said, regardless of the reactions of others. Call me what you want, as I always say, but please don't call me late for lunch. It happens to be my main meal. What about the coherence crisis? The coherence crisis. The philosopher Hannah Arendt spoke of the banality or dullness and ordinariness of evil. But here's also what I call the tyranny of coherence. Imagine you supported a leader for 10 years, just giving an example. You've defended them to your family. You've staked your social credibility on them. Then they do or say something undeniably false to cover up their corrupt ways while projecting what they really are on their opponent. To you, to admit that truth now would mean that your past sacrifices were indeed foolish, that your arguments hurt relationships for nothing, that your judgment is flawed, that you must face a complex, uncertain world without the compass of that leader's narrative. That is a terrifying psychological earthquake. It's easier for the mind to reject one new fact than to shatter an entire coherent worldview it has built a life upon. You see, the lie isn't just believed. It is invested in by you, volunteering at every turn to make a fool of yourself. And I dare say for stress, to make an ass of yourself. The transformation of pain into purpose. Let's just look at that for a brief moment. Here is the dark transformation. When a leader tells a deliberate lie that resonates with a felt pain, they perform magic, you know. They take your humiliation, your economic anxiety, your sense of historical marginalization, and they transmute or change it. They don't say your pain is complex and requires difficult collective work. Oh no. They say your pain has a single simple source, them. And you know that lie is a relief. It's an answer. It gives chaotic suffering a clean story to follow. To question the lie isn't just intellectual. It feels like reopening the wound without anesthesia. The follower isn't just believing a falsehood. They're clutching a painkiller. Since the national treasury has been closed to those who lack genuine development policies and philosophy, and whose main use was to distribute pittance in favor of widening the poor and vulnerable class of our society, to favor them always at the pole. They have been using their investment in keeping that swath of the population so ignorant to believe that their lack today must be blamed on the new administration. This happens in most of the region today. A sad reality indeed. But the performance of belief. And this is the final masterful stroke, you know, folks. When you avidly follow, you perform your belief for the tribe, for the clan. You post the slogans. You wear the colors. You shout down dissenters. You develop fake profiles to see whose character you can besmirch. Even though you started the bullying, when you can't handle the pushback, the responses that shame you to the core, you brand the protectors of their name, the bullies. With every performance, you sink deeper into the gutter of your habitation. You're no longer just believing a lie. You're building your reputation on it. To recant would be social suicide. So you double down. You seek out echo chambers, radio shows, social media groups that shower you with validation for your belief. You establish fake profiles and use them to support your gutter rants, as if to satisfy yourself that you have support, and your pungently diabolical utterings are validated. But if you look under your fake profiles, you will see a myriad of other fake profiles, probably developed by you yourself to respond to your nonsense. You see, the lie becomes the ticket to community, to recognition, to a sense of being a warrior for a cause, even though this so-called cause has absolutely no merit. You're not following a liar. In your mind, you are defending a fortress that contains everyone who makes you feel significant. Remember, all this time, when you check over your life, you achieved nothing, and you are nothing. Hence the reason why you seek to drag everyone who is doing something, who is becoming something, into the quadrant of nothing with you, because misery loves company. So what do we do with this? How do we speak to someone in this fortress? We must understand, you cannot attack the fortress with facts. The fortress was never built to protect facts. It was built to protect an identity which, when picked apart, gets such person or people rabid. The only way in is through empathy, not combat. Oh no, don't get involved in combat at all. Acknowledge the valid pain. Before challenging the lie, acknowledge the real feeling beneath it. It makes sense that you feel left behind. That must be incredibly frustrating for you. This disarms the identity defense. Separate the person from the tribe. Speak to their wisdom, not the group's dogma. You've always been a person who cares about fairness. How does this particular claim you're making align with your sense of fairness? Ask questions that restore agency. The lie often offers the comfort of passivity. Follow me, I alone can fix it. So ask questions that imply their personal power. If you were designing a solution, what would you prioritize? Put them on the spot. You see, this gently pulls them back into a role of a thinker, not just a follower. Folks, I have had to do this all too often. And you know, the questions are always met with dead silence, because somewhere in their consciences, they realize they've been screwed. Because my questions to them always show them how I thought better of them. And you think they really like that? Oh, no. And for ourselves, you see, we must cultivate the brutal humility to ask, what lie might I be clinging to? Because it spares me pain, gives me community, or protects my self-image. You see, the most dangerous lies aren't the ones we're fooled by. They're the ones we collude with. The path of the truth isn't the path of the smart. It's the path of the brave. It often means trading the warm, noisy crowd for the quiet, lonely bench, with only the cold, hard, beautiful truth for company. But from that bench, you can see clearly. And eventually others who are tired of the fortress will come and sit beside you, one by one. And that is how new, truthful communities begin. I want to thank you for sitting in this difficult space with me. This is the work, folks, not of winning arguments, but of understanding human hearts, starting with our own. And I'm just begging you that if this resonated, be gentle with yourself and others. The truth is a demanding friend, but the only one worth having for a long journey ahead. Being associated with the truth helps you to get rid of stragglers from around you, the ones who weigh you down and stymie your own personal progress. But this other question here, let me put it in the comment section for you so that you can actually see it and have it as a wonderful, a worthy point of reference. Let me put it here for you. How do we get our people to develop to the point where this is no longer a challenge for their very evolution as a civilization? How do we? You see, folks, the cathedral of tomorrow, building a civilization immune to its own lies. As a people, we need to grow beyond survival stories. We've diagnosed the disease. We've traced its contours in our politics, our relationships, in our very souls. Now comes the most urgent question, not of psychology, but of civilizational will. How do we as Grenadians, as Caribbean people, evolve beyond this? How do we build a society where truth is not a luxury for the brave few, but the foundation for everyone? All are we, in other words. This isn't about winning elections or debates. This is about architecting a culture with antibodies against its own worst instincts. This is generational work, sacred work, folks. So let's build that blueprint together. Let's see what we could do together here today. You see, the pedagogy of questioning, that is a foundational pillar we must pay respects to. We must revolutionize what it means to be educated in Grenada and the Caribbean. Not just literacy and numeracy, but epistemic literacy. What do we mean by that? The science of how we know what we know. Going behind our knowledge, behind our certainty, behind our commitment or belief about the truth of a proposition. You see, from primary school, who benefits from this story? In history class, whose voice is missing from this story? And in civics, what does this policy promise? Or what does it actually do? We need a curriculum that teaches cognitive sovereignty, not just reciting facts, but building a mental tools, all the mental tools to deconstruct stories, to spot emotional manipulation, to sit comfortably with complexity instead of reaching for simple lies. Could you imagine a CXC exam question? Analyze a current political speech and identify 3 logical fallacies and 2 unstated assumptions about power. You know, we'd be graduating not just students, but citizen architects. The ritual of public truth. That's the second foundational pillar, folks. Our society needs new institutions, not governmental, but cultural, that make truth-telling prestigious, celebrated, and socially rewarding. What if we had, folks, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for everyday politics, where leaders publicly commit to evidence-based discourse, media literacy festivals as vibrant as Carnival, where analyzing propaganda becomes community theater, elder councils, not of political loyalty, but of verified wisdom, where respect is earned through demonstrated integrity over decades. You see, we must make truth-seeking ritualistic, not a dry academic exercise, but something woven into our music, into our festivals, into our places of worship, where most of the lies are told. We need to make the pursuit of truth feel as culturally Caribbean as a good soca or reggae rhythm. But you see, the economics of integrity, that's the third foundational pillar. Here is the hardest truth, folks. Lies flourish in soil of scarcity and inequality. When people are economically desperate, when they feel the system offers no fair path, they will trade truth for hope, any hope, even a false hope. But you see, where is the education? If we were truly educated, false hope is something that will never exist around us. So old thief and old con can't come with no false hope to rob your attention. The most potent lie we have been told and continue to be told: I alone can give you what the current system denies you. And pray tell, what does the current system deny you? The opportunity to proceed to get something for nothing instead of working for it. You see the denial there? They deny you the opportunity to proceed to get something for nothing instead of working for it. In other words, the new system is that you work for your keep and stop waiting for handouts. Those days done. Look at how many people have to be imported to do labor. And because you're sitting down holding up your scratch with a carib or a stag in one hand making a nuisance of yourself on the block with 3 stones and a set of wood lighted with some old bun pan or bun pot, as we say here in raw Creole, forming the ass, you feel the unemployment figure is to be debated. No, it isn't. Anytime a country is importing labor, unemployment is going down. You just getting left and you're showing how much of a useless human being you are, not just to the society, but to yourself. You see, building a truth-resistant society requires building an equity-based economy, not just growth, but distributed dignity. Entrepreneurship programs tied to transparency metrics, community wealth building projects that demonstrate cooperation works better than extraction. Hello? You see, when people have skin in the game of stability, when they own a piece of the future, they become natural defenders of reality. They can't afford the luxury of destructive fantasies as peddled by low-grade characters that we have insisted on staying in the corridors of our politics. Hell no. But you see, the redemption of our historical narrative or historical story is foundational pillar 4. Our regional dysfunction often feeds on half-told history. We oscillate between narratives of only victimhood and only heroism. We need the full, complicated, powerful truth. We are people who survived the unspeakable, created breathtaking beauty from trauma, and we carry wounds that manifest in how we govern and relate to each other today, believe it or not. Folks, that's a serious, serious truth, you know. Don't get tired. Oh, yes. You see, we need public history that says, yes, we were colonized. Yes, we fought for freedom. And now we must do the harder work of freeing ourselves from the internalized patterns of oppression, the either-or thinking, the authoritarian reflexes, the distrust that served survival then but stifles evolution now. This is psychic decolonization, the most profound work of our century. You see, the survival civilization, we have to move from that to thrival civilization. And that should be our sacred project. For centuries, our primary story was survival. Against hurricanes, against exploitation, against marginalization, against victimization by political cons. That story forged incredible resilience. But survival stories have what? A shadow. They prioritize short-term gains, strongman leadership steeped in total dishonesty, which is self-serving, and tribal loyalty over long-term truth. Our real evolutionary task is to write a new story, the thrival civilization. What does that look like, though? Very simple, you know. Where our famous adaptability is directed towards climate innovation, not just recovery. We must be preventers, not reactors to what has happened. That's how we are now, and we're stuck in that mode. Where our deep community ties become networks of accountability, not just solidarity. Where our cultural creativity shapes global narratives, global stories, not just entertain tourists. Where our small size becomes an advantage for governance experiments the world can learn from. We had a beautiful opportunity between 79 and 83, threw it away. Return to democracy, making manger popot. Miscreants trying to fit into Westminster-style democracy. Vexing indeed. dressed up like a whole pile of imposters with hat and almost gloves too, bibs and all sorts of nonsense. And when you strip the individuals down, zero, characterless for the most part, bad mind, worthless individuals going to talk about wherefore and hitherto and set a goddamn nonsense and call that's not we culture, folks. That is rubbish. We need to design a system that suits us, taking from the best of us our ideas. You see, this transformation begins with a critical mass, perhaps just 15% of our population, who consciously choose to withdraw status from dishonest leaders, no matter their side. Celebrate complexity in public discourse. Invest in local truth-telling institutions, independent journalism, not this kind of magie pop-out rubbish that we have here for journalists. Community fact-checking co-ops. Parent of cognitive sovereignty, raising children who question respectfully but relentlessly. We become the traditional generation, the one that absorbs the pain of changing patterns, so our grandchildren inherit different instincts. The beautiful, hopeful secret is this: we already have the cultural DNA for this evolution. Think of our tradition of old talk, the art of reasoning together under a tree. That's deliberative democracy in its purest form. Think of our liming culture, horizontal, non-hierarchical social connection. Hello. Think of our religious pluralism, practical experience, navigating different truth claims. You see, we are not building from scratch. We are retrieving and upgrading our deepest cultural software. We are taking the communal wisdom of the village square and scaling it to the level of modern civilization. Will it be easy? No. It asks everything of us. Will it be quick? No. It's the work of a century, which we must start now. But here's our choice. Do we remain a civilization that occasionally produces extraordinary individuals who escape the dysfunction? Or do we become an extraordinary civilization where the dysfunction cannot enter, far less to take root? I think the latter is more preferable. So let us build cathedrals of truth, so beautiful, so resonant with who we truly are, that our people would no more live in the shack of a lie than eat stone for bread. We have survived hurricanes of wind. Now we must survive hurricanes of falsehood and build from the ground up a house made entirely of windows where every corner is flooded with light. Thank you for believing in that possibility for Grenada, in that possibility for the Caribbean. Our story isn't finished. The most truthful chapters are yet to be written, folks. Look at how our religion, has never been questioned and blindly followed. And we will realize how doomed many of us are from the get-go. The version of Christianity we still follow is the European bastardized version, properly choreographed to have us how we are, while they maintain this spell over us. It's time to break free, folks. You can never help somebody who's committed to the story that is suited to their very dysfunction. Folks, let's take a little break. You know, segment 4, the last segment is coming up, so study ahead. It's not going to be easy. Take good care. Let's take this little break.
stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Goodly folks, Country Cold Store launches its Jingle and Win Christmas promotion. When you spend $150 or more and $250 or more at either their mini mart at Piedmont or their wholesale division respectively, you stand more than a chance to be included to win a shopping spree from $500 to $1,000 up to $1,500. A greater opportunity exists nowhere else. For more information, contact Country Cold Store 440-3335. Remember, this Country Cold Store Jingle and Win Christmas promotion runs from 5th to 20th December 2025.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
So, folks, you know, this is the final segment. And for all of you who are in the room with me, thank you. But it's going to be hot in here, even though it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas, isn't it? We're having some interesting weather, but it's not the day that is bad, it's the weather that is lousy. But I'll tell you something, our rainy season wasn't so rainy this year, so our farmers are very, very happy for what they are receiving, the blessings from the heavens. Welcome back, folks. You see, the disgusting manner in which politicians spar in Parliament within the Caribbean of late leave much to be desired. It shows that we are on the verge of vagrancy. We see it in Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, St. Kitts, Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. Oh God, here, Grenada. I am sure it exists in Dominica too, but can't say that I've seen any viral video to support this. What is causing this level of unfriendliness and absolute disrespect among elected and appointed members of Parliament? I mean, the simple answer is you could see it's ego. You could see it's greed. But you could also see its emptiness of a failed class of individuals and everything else in their life, and who use politics as their full stop, their gratuity plan to catch up making a living before they die, so that they would stop at nothing to defend that last opportunity with every fiber in them. Folks, just as we should trace the race of our earmarked partner before marriage to see whether we wish to proceed to exchange fluids with them, with that person, and intermingle our DNA, because that is a concern to produce offsprings. So we must suss the individuals who offer themselves to public life to see if they are at the desired level that we wish to represent us. Our failure to do this will surely lead us to more of the same, which has never served us well. You cannot get good leadership from a pardoned thief who never entered the arena of true and genuine contrition. If and when let loose on a position of ultimate authority, will proceed to thief, as would be his very nature. It's like putting a cat to guard a boatload of freshly caught jacks. Look at this theater of disrespect that our parliament has become. When parliament becomes a colosseum, from statesman to showman, the coarsening of Caribbean politics. Friends, we must speak about the degradation of our highest chambers, not in whispers, not with resignation, but with clear eyes and a grieving heart. Across the Caribbean Sea, from Trinidad's Red House to Jamaica's Gordon House, from Guyana's parliament to our own here, we witness the same troubling spectacle. Grown men and women elected to serve instead choose to perform rituals of public contempt. The viral videos don't lie. The shouting matches, the personal insults, the theatrical walkouts, the deliberate provocation, the vulgar lies, the character assassinations. This isn't healthy debate. This is political performance art of the lowest order. And we, the people, are both audience and casualties. But you know what they say? You get what you pay for. When you pick up anybody and place them in the highest chambers of your land, what can you expect other than a total reflection of your carelessness in choosing? What has transformed our parliaments from temples of deliberation into theaters of disrespect and, I dare say, lollyism? You see, the death of statesmanship, the birth of celebrity. Somewhere along our past post-independence journey, we replaced the ideal of the statesperson, someone who understands governance as sacred stewardship, with a political celebrity, someone of low life who knows how to perform to the liking of the masses. The celebrity doesn't win arguments with better policy. They win attention with better theater. In an agent of social media fragments and 24-hour news cycles, outrage outperforms reason. A viral insult reaches more constituents than a thoughtful policy paper. A dramatic walkout gets more shares than a nuanced amendment. So the new type of politicians optimize for visibility, not virtue, because they came with none in the first place. They perform for cameras, not for country. The parliamentary chamber becomes a sound stage, and their constituents become fans in a political reality show where the prize isn't progress, but dominance in the gutter. The weaponization of our cultural expressions. This hurts particularly because it twists something beautiful about us. We are a people of verbal virtuosity. Picong and calypso, the dozens in banter, Our linguistic creativity is legendary, folks. But in Parliament, this gift becomes a weapon. The quick wit becomes a cruel insult. The rhythmic rhetoric becomes a tool of humiliation. The same cultural strength that produced Derek Walcott's poetry and Sparrow's social commentary is degraded into parliamentary slapstick. The tragedy, it works because it feels familiar. It resonates with our love of performance and mawet. We may cluck our tongues, but we watch. And in the attention economy, watching is currency. But the feedback loop of digital outrage. Here's a modern accelerant. Every outburst is now a potential viral moment. Politicians don't just perform for those in the chamber. No, they perform for the social media teams waiting to clip a 30-second explosion. The insult, though aimed at the colleague across the aisle, it's aimed more importantly at the algorithm. It creates a perverse incentive structure. Provoke a reaction, capture the reaction, credit the maximum outrage. Hello? It feeds the base with so-called proof of the other side's madness. Receive digital validation, likes, shares, comments, that translates to perceived political capital. In our own case here in Grenada, it attracts the vitriol of supporters and followers of its target. The actual governance, the boring essential work of legislation, oversight, and compromise doesn't trend, so it's neglected for what does. But what about the unhealed wound of our political history? Folks, listen to this carefully. We must speak to a deeper, more painful truth, Our parliamentary system, our systems, were inherited, not evolved organically from our own traditions. They are Westminster templates laid over Caribbean realities, proving today how much absolute change is necessary. Could you imagine vagabonds forced to adhere to a dress code to mimic our British colonizers, but whose character or lack thereof behave to suit the gutter? That's not working out at all. Change is absolutely necessary. For generations, these chambers were places where our ancestors were excluded, then tolerated, then grudgingly admitted. You see, there's a subconscious memory, a cultural DNA that remembers Parliament as a theatre of power, not a workshop of service. You see, when today's politicians reduce it to theatrical combat, they are unconsciously replaying a historical script where politics was about taking power from, not building power with. They're performing a colonial drama of dominance and submission, just with different low-grade actors. But what's the devastating cost? Folks, it comes at a cost. This isn't just unseemly. It has concrete consequences. It drives away talent. You tell me, who of substance would want to enter that arena? The thoughtful, the collaborative, the policy-minded? They stay away, leaving the field to the riffraffs and decadent performers in the main. It normalizes disrespect for all authority. If Parliament behaves like a street fight, why should classrooms, hospitals, families uphold decorum? May making sense? It paralyzes governance. You see, when relationships are poisoned, compromise becomes betrayal. legislation stalls, the people's business goes undone. In fact, having a minor accident and even allowing an X-ray appointment to clash with a date for Parliament, or sitting in there and surfing the net on shopping sites, become the order of the day. You gonna take your decent self and crave becoming part of that? Hell no. So you see, the performers have reduced it to a chamber of nothing. You see, it robs us of moral authority. How can we lecture our youth about respect when our highest leaders model contempt? Lolly drain contempt. We have to reclaim our sacred space, folks. And that has to be the antidote. What if we, the people, changed what we reward? We probably need to start creating citizens' scorecards, independent, non-partisan organizations that rate members of parliament not on viral moments, but on tangible metrics: bills drafted, committees attended, constructive amendments proposed, hours spent in constituency service, and being truthful to the minutes of meetings of special parliamentary committees, and not behaving as if they were not part to publicly refuse what they agreed to. We have to demand media responsibility. When news outlets lead with the insult instead of the issue, we should call them out. They are only reflecting the level of talents they themselves attract. We ought to support media that provide analysis, not just amplification of conflicts, contempt, and gutterism. We need to institutionalize cooling off rituals. What if every parliamentary session began with 5 minutes of silence? Or a reading from our own Caribbean philosophers, C.L.R. James, for instance, V.S. Naipaul, or required opposing members to share one point of agreement before debate. What about the grandmother principle? Imagine if every parliament had a council of elders, respected non-political figures, retired teachers, nurses, farmers, doctors, engineers, just to name a few, who could literally stand and signal disapproval when discourse degrades. A moral compass in the room. Our role as citizens: we must recognize our complicity. We share the clips. We laugh at the insults. We elect the performers. We ignore their unsatisfactory levels and elect them because we know them in the village. That is we boy, that is we girl. Even if we girl is a village idiot, even if we boy is a village idiot, we know them, like we boy. You see, the revolution begins with our applause. When we stop cheering for the insult comic and start demanding the architect, behavior will change. We need to say collectively, we hired you to build a better Grenada, a better Caribbean, not to entertain us with your grudges and gutterism. The theater of disrespect is closed. Get back to work. Otherwise, get to hell out. Our parliaments should sound like the best of our Caribbean. Multiple voices in creative tension. Yes, but ultimately finding rhythm together, like a steel pan orchestra, tuning before the performance. You know what's interesting? There's a cacophony of sounds, different notes, but seeking harmony. What we are witnessing isn't debate. It's the sound of a system forgetting its purpose. Let us remind them, not with more shouting, but with more unshakable expectation. The dignity of our nation depends on it. Hello. Thank you for caring enough, folks, to grieve what we are seeing and to imagine what our democracy could sound like at its best. You see, you can never help somebody who is committed to the story that is suited to their dysfunction. I am in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, folks. Stay well. Remain vigilant. Stay lifted. But remember, keep the focus. A kite rises against the wind, not with it. So do not allow anything to bother you that much, because naysayers will come to take you off your focus. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as directly as I deliver them to you. Folks, toodaloo. Have a great week. The upcoming week, that is, and stay safe.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. Goodly folks, Country Cold Store launches its Jingle and Win Christmas promotion. When you spend $150 or more and $250 or more at either their mini-mart, a Pet Motel, or their wholesale division respectively, you stand more than a chance to be included to win a shopping spree from $500 to $1,000 up to $1,500. A greater opportunity exists nowhere else. For more information, contact Country Cold Store 440-3335. Remember, this Country Cold Store Jingle and Win Christmas promotion runs from 5th to 20th December 2025.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training, and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.